This week's reading, written by Haston, talked about modeling and rote teaching. Modeling is when a teacher demonstrates a concept, so a string teacher demonstrating a staccato on their instrument, or a math teacher writing down a problem on the board, and having teachers basically perform the act of what they want the students, or what they're trying to get the students to learn, so that the students can imitate them. This is called implicit learning, when students subconsciously learn through the act of imitating. So a student being able to do staccato based off of what they're visually seeing their teacher do. Modeling can be beneficial in some ways, but it can also act as a crutch for students who aren't learning. For example, in one of my observations that I did last semester, the teacher did a lot of modeling with her students, especially during lessons and during orchestra. And I noticed that maybe on the second day, instead of, I don't want to diss on her teaching, but in her private lessons that she would do, she would go through the songs that she was learning with her students, and they would just play through the songs without actually teaching the notes or the rhythms. It would just be her playing, and then her students playing back to her like what she just played. And in some ways, I think that modeling is good because it's really quick and easy, and to get students to learn a concept that you want to teach them, but also doing it for every rehearsal, which she did, and for every lesson, I felt like was kind of, it wasn't really beneficial to them, because they were kind of just mindlessly playing with her during the lesson or during orchestra, because she would get up on the podium and play violin instead of conduct the ensemble every rehearsal. Yeah, but and Haston also talked about how modeling is more useful than a verbal explanation. So instead of verbally saying, for staccato, you're gonna stop your bow, and so that there's space in between each note. Just showing them instead of explaining to them with words is conceptually easier for them to understand, and it's also it's just easier that way, instead of trying to explain some abstract concept to them without a visual. And this is still works for more advanced students, so like me, like not in high school anymore. In my lessons, David will play something and play it more like that, and it's way easier for me to understand what he wants than for him to tell me play it this way. Just having a model is way more helpful. And especially in micro teachings, using modeling like call and responses for warm-ups is super beneficial, because you give the students an example of what you want. So like if you're playing a D scale with like long, short, short, long, short, 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 short bows, doing that and then saying like repeat after me and then having them play after you is a great warm-up. And then adding like, was that scale that we played, or was that like excerpt that we just played, were those whole steps or were those half steps? Adding some additional information to them, to those call and responses, would be beneficial as well. Rote teaching happens when students are unable to apply the concept that they learned to new contexts, or new like concepts, without the teacher resorting to rote teaching or modeling. So basically the students aren't learning, because they are dependent on the teacher giving them an example, like a visual example, and meaning that they don't understand the concept, and yeah, they're relying on their teacher to tell them what to do.